G'day and welcome back. In this video today, I'm going to show you the Dragan effect where you create a high contrast black and white. You know, the real grungy, cool looking portrait photo. So this is what we're going to end up with. You can see there I've got a before and after, and it's quite dramatic, isn't it? And I've always seen these photos and thought, wow, that looks so cool, so much character. And those wrinkles and those lines and detail, the grunginess kind of tells the story of a hard life. This is just a stock image on Pixabay. I'll have the link below in the description. You'll be able to access that there. And so the app that I'm going to be using is Snapseed, and I'm going to go through about 12 different tools of Snapseed. Now, you probably don't need to use all of them, but hey, why not? We're going to have a bit of play, a bit of a fun. So without further ado, let's get into it. And I'm going to leave, there's the app there, Snapseed. That's what it looks like. It's a free app. It doesn't cost you anything. It's by Google. And you can see there down the bottom there, lots of my other favorite apps there. How do you like this look that I've got going on here? I'm pointing down here because this is kind of my control hub where I'm controlling everything. And I just want to have a little bit more interactive here so that you've got me in the camera still talking to you. You can see what I'm doing and that way. And down the bottom here as well, I'll also have different transitions and that sort of thing coming up. So I'll bring up Snapseed with the photo loaded. So there we go. This is Snapseed. The first thing I'm going to do is the selective tool. See? How cool is that? The little lower thirds coming down the bottom there. Which way am I pointing? That way? No, I have to point that way. It's all new, it's all exciting. We'll get there. So the first thing I'm going to do is a selective tool. Now what I want to do is, before I go and convert this to a black and white and get too carried away, with this editing process, what happens quite often is if there's dark areas and you convert it to a black and white, you just really crunch the blacks and you just lose too much detail. So what I want to do is just lighten up that side of the face. Now at the moment for a portrait, it looks good. You've got shape on there, but we're going for a different type of effect. So tap on the pencil and we go to selective. Now the lower bottom thirds down the bottom, as it says local adjustment, you can control the brightness, contrast, saturation and structure, which is really cool. So what I'm going to do is concentrate on the brightness. So press on the tap, there's the plus icon. Tap where it's a bit dark, and then with two fingers just pinch and zoom, and I'm going to pinch and zoom to that area and then just swipe to the right. You can see up the top there, brightness, swiping, I'm trying to make them equal and level. Okay, I'm going to add another pin up the top here and just brighten that area there as well. And you can just tap on the pins just to move between the two. I think that's pretty good. I might put another one down here, that side of the beard there. And remove those, have a look, step back. Actually, this one here, I might need to add a little bit of contrast, saturation. Oop. And yeah, that's pretty good. All right, okay, tick on that. That's the first step I wanted to do. Next, I want to go into HDRscape. So let's bring this one up, HDRscape, there we go. Tap on the pencil. HDR, I'm looking for that icon down the bottom of the screen there. You can see, where are we? It's been a little while since I've used HDRscape. There it is. By default, it comes up with people. Fantastic, that's what we want. We want people. Have a look at these other ones though, and strong. Actually, that isn't bad. Let's stick with that. I like that. So filter strength. Yep, okay. Saturation. Bring that down a bit. And yeah, pretty happy with that. Okay, press the tick. Next one I want here is the brush tool. So the brush tool has lots of different options here. We can use dodge and burn, exposure, temperature, saturation. What I'm going to use here is the dodge and burn, because I'm noticing that eye left that eye there is kind of not quite right. It's a lot brighter. So I just want to darken that eye a little bit just to match it. And just that whole area, just darken under there just to match it. That's all I'm trying to do, is just match it. All right, that's pretty cool. Okay, next thing I want to do is black and white. Is the next one, black and white. Black on the pencil, black and white. Here we go. Now I want contrast. I want the strong contrast black and white. I've got lots of different options here. that one there dark, that's pretty cool. That's probably not too far off where we want to go, but we want to have a bit of control on our way there. So contrast, tap on the adjust, and we could add grain, and you can see when we zoom in here, the grain, you can actually see the grain move when I go back and forth. Not a real big fan of it. A little bit's good, but yeah, we might move along from that. Okay, brightness, bring the brightness down a little bit. Okay, I'm going to go back a step because I've noticed the background, we've got a real halo effect around his shoulders, and that's because of that HDR scape. So I'm going to go to Stacks, View Edits, go to HDR, adjust, and I'm going to go back to people. Yeah, it kind of, so if you have a look around, well, not so much the shoulders, but you see the transition to the background. You see here in Strong, it has a real definite line there, whereas people is just a little bit more subtle. So I'm going to go back and stick with that. Okay, black and white, we're up to. And I actually want to go, I didn't quite finish there in black and white, so I just noticed that mistake that I wanted to fix. Tap on adjust, go into the colors. You can see here we've got neutral by default, but I want to tap on these colors, the color channels. And more often than not, green for portraits, this sort of thing is always the best, and I quite like that. And yep, tap on that one. The next thing I want to do before we go too much further is healing. Okay, so back, pencil, healing. All right, and I want to go and have a look for those real kind of things that pull our attention away from what we really want. We can see here a couple of stray hairs, so I'm just going to swipe over those. Okay, it's so cool, healing. I love it. It's so good. All right, tick on that. The next thing I want to do is tonal contrast. Pencil, tonal contrast. Tonal contrast is kind of the fine contrast details, and you can look at you can adjust the tonal range, the contrast and the tonal range of the high tones, the mid tones, or the low tones, the shadow areas. By default, it comes up with these numbers here, plus 30, plus 50. More often than not, they're actually bang on with just that one default setting, and you can go in and tweak a little bit. Protect highlights is really good if you've got some highlights like we do in the background here, and you can just swipe left and right, and you can see what it does is it just dulls off, because when you dulls off the brightness, because when you adjust the contrast, it'll actually make the brighter areas brighter, and some areas don't want that to happen in the brighter areas, because you might start to then lose detail in those brighter areas. So protected the highlights a little bit there. Midtones, let's crunch that a bit more, and I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, and the next thing I want to move on to is vintage. This one's really cool. I love vintage. For so long, I didn't really use it. Boy, did I miss out. It's so cool. So basically, you can create monotones, kind of sepia look, that sort of thing. But it has a really strong vignette in most of them, and a nice color cast. You can see here, I really like that one. Just tap through, have a look at all the different ones here. I quite like, let's keep it black and white. Let's go with number 12. Okay, we go in there. Vignette strength, I'm going to make that really dark. Okay, I'll show you why in a sec. Don't stress. I can see you going, Mike, it's black now. All right, style strength, and okay, well, we'll bring it back a bit. Because the style strength actually made it darker as well. All right, tick. Going to go back into the stacks, view edits. Okay, tap on vintage, and now I'm going to do masking. Masking, where's my little pop up for that? Here we go, masking. Selectively apply any edit exactly where you want in 25% increments, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to press that. On the bottom left here, I've got an icon to invert it. So it basically has made it back to where it was. And then I can just go in here and brighten his face, his beard, his hairline there. And to make sure I don't go out of it, I can press the little thing down the side there. Okay, go back, make sure it's okay. Yep, happy with that. Fantastic. All right, that's looking really grungy and really gritty, and that's what we really want. Basically, what I want to do now is just go in and do some little dodge and burning and make his eyes pop a little bit. So we'll go back, and this one is back to brush. Again, we're going to go to brush. Okay, pencil, brush. like we mentioned before, dodge and burn, exposure, temperature. I'm just going to go dodge and burn. Okay, so this is where I can go and brighten areas like his eyes, the whites of his eyes. I'm going to go and do that underneath the eyelid there. Look for an existing highlight or brighter areas on his face, and we might want to go and just accentuate. I mean, we could do this with curves. We could create an S curve to create contrast, but it applies it to the whole image. We don't want to do that right now. We just want to apply it to just the areas that we want to focus our attention. I want your eye to go to his eyes, and his forehead is where I really want you to your attention to go. And then I want you to come down to his beard and get lost in the textures of the beard there. So that's pretty cool. Light areas, so a little bit on his lips. Now I'm going to go into darken. And I'm going to darken some areas now. So his pupils, make those black. Okay. And then right in the deep areas there. Okay, I think that'll do. All right. That's looking pretty cool. And how's this? I really like the way this is set up now. So while I'm doing this, you can actually see the before as I'm going and then see the after. So straight away you can see the before and after, but we can also do that by just holding our finger on the screen, and you can see the before, you can see that I cropped it, and then the after. We can also go back, view edits, and we can have a look at all the steps that we took. The original, cropped it, we did a few selective things, the HDR, bit of brush work around the eyes, black and white conversion, use the green channel, healing, tonal contrast to just bring out that real fine details, vintage, and then a little bit of brush. All right, that's looking pretty good. One thing though is that background, I just want to complement it with a bit of a texture in there. So I just want to go and show one more thing here. So what we're going to do is we're going to export that. All right, export, creating a copy of it basically. And now what I want to do is I want to go into grunge. Where have I got that one here? Grunge, here we go. So I want to go into grunge, and where is it down the bottom here? And I'm just looking, I'll make it bright just so that I can see what I'm doing. I'm just looking at the texture, all right, texture strength. So I'm just looking at this texture and going, oh yeah, that's really cool, like that texture. Saturation, doesn't do anything, don't worry about it. And contrast, I might just reduce the contrast. What I'm doing there with the texture is, there's some fine lines and details. By reducing the contrast, I'm just blending those a little bit so there's not so much definite lines in there. So I'm just creating that. Okay, so press on tick. Now I want to go into tune image. Okay, this is where we can do brightness, contrast, saturation, all that sort of thing. And I want to go into saturation and remove that color. So I'm going to go in there and get rid of that color. So now, remember, I'm just looking at the background here. That's all I'm looking at. And ambience, I'm going to go that way with the ambience. All right, I'm happy with that. What I might do now is I will go in and do a bit of lens blur. There you go, lens blur. And I think that's pretty good. I don't want it too strong. Let's have a look. Nah, so I want some of that texture to stay there. That's the whole point of why I'm doing this. So a bit of texture. That's pretty cool. All right, that's good. So what I'm going to do now is go into double exposure, and I'm going to load that previous photo back in there again. There it is. And increase the opacity. Okay, that's good. We've done that. So basically I've got the original one, or the original one we exported, and I've just slapped that on top. So now I'm going to do that masking, and I'm going to mask around the background, just bring in that background that we've worked hard on creating there. So invert, and then I just want to paint in that texture. Yeah, that's cool. It kind of looks like there's a brick wall or something of interest around behind him there. Might even bring it down a little bit. Oh, no. Leave that as is. That's pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, so there we go. That's the Dragan effect. So easy. I mean, we went a little bit. Let's simplify it. All right, let's simplify. We'll go back. We'll get rid of the double exposure I did there, the tune image. Get rid of these steps. Get rid of these steps that are kind of specific to this image. You know, the local adjustments. I want to get rid of those as well here. Bin that. bin the healing, brush, selective, get rid of that, get rid of the crop, let's just leave it as is. And if we just, so we break this down into real simple, regardless of what the photo is and what's going on with highlights and shadows in the face and that sort of thing, specific to this photo. All I've really done is HDR scape, convert it to a black and white. Remember to choose that color, the color channel, tonal contrast, vintage, and there we go. So from there to there in 4 steps, you could do this really quickly in 30 seconds, maybe a minute. And but you can see it's fun to kind of get in there, real intricate details and that sort of thing. So yeah, there we go. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell button, and be notified of the next video that I release. I want to get more into these sort of photos, and as you can see there, I've got quite a range of different apps that I want to have a play with and experiment and share with you guys some of the processes that I'm learning. So thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you next time. I haven't shaved for a couple of days. I wonder what it looked like if I actually do this effect on me now. All right, let's go in there, Dragan effect. Use that. Okay. Oh no. Oh, thank goodness I married early.